Right, everyone. I'm finally back. I haven't been gone for too long, have I? Good grief. Okay, I've been gone for a little bit, but I'm back now, and with a different video than usual. It's into a review this time. About a week ago, I started playing Lies of P, and I remember the demo when that came out ages ago now. I didn't really like it, but I've been really enjoying it recently. And I ended up playing through the game 3 times to get all the achievements. But after I did that, I thought I kind of want to play through it again, but I didn't want to just do it for no reason. I wanted a goal at the end of it. And I thought, why not make a video on this playthrough to give it a good reason? Because I've not made one in a while. But I thought I wouldn't just do any playthrough. To make it more interesting, I'll do a challenge run. Now, there's plenty of Lies of P challenge runs out there. In fact, there's this YouTuber called Nova Ride who has done quite a few of them. And they're entertaining, you should give them a watch. In fact, one of his challenge runs actually got me to give Lies of P another chance. So thanks to him for that. Now, he's done a few runs, such as Motivity only, Technique only, Advance only, Capacity only. But one of the ones I don't think he's done, I don't think anyone's done, at least I couldn't find any, was Vigor only. Now, in case you don't know, Vigor is your stamina. So obviously, the more Vigor you have, the more stamina you have. And honestly, it's not massively useful. Now, don't get me wrong, more stamina is always good. But you start off with a decent bit of stamina even on like the Motivity class, and it regens pretty quick already. Pair that with the fact that I'm pretty sure it soft caps quite soon. It means that you don't really have to put more than a handful of upgrades into that. In fact, when I would do my main playthrough at game, on main 3, I should say, I upgraded it to level 12 at the very start, and then never touched it again because I never needed to. I always had plenty. Well, I thought it'd be a bit of fun to go through the entire game only leveling that, especially considering I'm by no means amazing at Lies of P, and it's the first challenge run out of any game I've ever done. So I thought it'd be a bit of fun, and it was, for the most part. So, onto the rules. First one, pretty self-explanatory. I can only level Vigor. Any weapons, upgrades, amulets, anything like that's fine. Just the only thing I can put levels into is Vigor. Rule number 2, no Spectre summons for the boss fights. I have to go at it alone. With all that being said, let's get started. About halfway through the run, I saw that someone has actually done an only Vigor run. About a year ago, another YouTuber called Venatic615. I'm not sure if they beat the full game, but they definitely beat Black Right Brotherhood and Andreas. So yeah, just saying. And also wearing the same outfit. That's a little coincidence. There's another coincidence I think were pretty cool. There's another YouTuber called Kyo the Hound, who's wearing also the exact same outfit, but they're doing a completely opposite run. They're doing no Vigor upgrades whatsoever. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Anyway, actually getting started now. So I started a new game and then were met with probably the most important decision out of the entire run. What outfit should I wear? I put on the outfit I stole from Aladoro and then was met with probably the second most important decision at run. What class should I choose? And this was quite an easy choice. The heavy class starts with the most vitality and capacity. And seeing as I'm finishing the game with the same amount I'm starting with, I need as much as I can get. And of course, the low vigor doesn't matter. I then left the train car to start the game and got absolutely bombarded by, quite frankly, unreasonable number of tutorial messages. And I only realised you could turn them off much later in the game, so that was nice. Anyway, it was all pretty uneventful, except for me getting my head absolutely caved in by some random guy. And then it was on to the first boss, the Parade Master. And you might be thinking, oh, it's the first boss. He must be pretty easy, right? Yeah, it was. So I beat him with 0 deaths. But on that point, I'll be including a death counter for all the major bosses, because I'm sure that can't possibly backfire in the future. And I got to the hotel, but they don't let puppets in. And at this point, I was panicking. I was freaking out. I was looking all over every nook and cranny, trying to find a way around. I thought this would be the end of the run, personally. But then I realised you can just lie. Nice and simple. So that's the first major wall beat. So smooth sailing from here, probably. After that, I was rewarded with a title card and a cutscene that's honestly kind of terrifying. Like, imagine that in real life. I then leveled the best stat in the game, got given the puppet string, immediately took it off and left. Once I got onto the street, I encountered a flying rabbit. Then I got a new frame and came across this absolutely exquisitely dressed gentleman who gave me a good crack around head. Then hit a couple of guys with a Dark Souls special, picked up a life amulet, and bought one of the 3 main weapons for this run, which is the electric coil stick. Now I had 2 ideas going into it. Seeing as I had no scaling, I was relying on the raw damage at weapon. So I could either pick some heavy strength weapon that does a lot of damage, or use one of the advanced weapons and try and get the enemy's weakness. Eventually I decided on the advanced weapons. I don't know if that was the right choice, but that's just the one I made. Then proceeded to continue across the rooftops with no difficulty whatsoever. Found another exquisitely dressed gentleman, and then came across this big fella. After not almost dying, I upgraded my weapon, leveled up Vigor, returned this child, and then it was off to fight the Scrap Watchman. Now, because I'm highly intelligent, on my first attempt I went in without equipping the amulet that boosts down against puppets, that you get literally right outside his arena, and I used the electric coil on the guy whose whole deal is electricity. So I'm sure you can figure out how that went. My second attempt went much better, but it was quite close. Then upgraded my PO gun. It's not what it sounds like, I promise. Before getting spat on by this lady. Usually I have to pay for that sort of thing. Maybe my lucky day. I then spoke to the King of Riddles and definitely knew the right answer and didn't guess it on my first playthrough before grabbing my second main weapon for the run, the Salamander Dagger. After that, I fought the Puppet of the Future, who weren't difficult. After killing him first try, I got the quartz behind him, then encountered one of the most irritating enemies in the entire game, this prick with a pair of doors. Then got jumped in this corner, spoke to my favourite character in the game, and, you know, the guy. Definitely didn't get scammed, and died to some random puppet, so that was embarrassing. After that, I rescued Vanini, and now it was on to Fuoco. On my first attempt, it was going pretty well until he pulled out the piece and absolutely took my head off. Well, the second attempt, it went a lot better. After killing Fuoco, I blew myself up like an absolute genius, and this guy must have just felt bad for me because he did the same. I then walked into this building that obviously is a trap and got hit with the most devious wombo combo I've ever seen. I then fought the Atoned, and funnily enough, I never actually fought her before because I've always had the gesture, but for some reason I didn't this time, so I had to fight her. And also, don't you think it's a little silly that she said she feels guilty and doesn't want to witness any more deaths, and then proceeds to beat the shit out of you? Anyway, I eventually won with the help of some throwables. Not a close call at all. Then I was subjected to what felt like 20 minutes of some of the most irritating dialogue I've ever heard, before seeing some zombies, because every game needs those. Shortly after, I saw this huge, intense fight on this bridge, which I proceeded to run right past. Then I walked in on Vicar Andreas eating a guy, and I did not like that one bit, because the way he moves is really quite unpleasant. So later on, I got absolutely flattened by this boulder. Note to self, can't hide behind these little wooden planks, keep that in mind. After that, I picked up a crap supply box, and came across this guy, who quite clearly copied my outfit. Anyway, I lied to him, because he's a bellend, and bought the Extreme Modification Amulet, which is vital for this run, and the Conquering Amulet, which I loved in my first run. I never took it off, but I just didn't equip it in this one. It was just too heavy. And then it was time for Andreas. Despite how intimidating he looks, Andreas weren't actually that difficult, which was a pleasant surprise, so I didn't even die once with him. I then continued on and got my third and final main weapon for the run, the Crystal Spear, but not before getting absolutely jump scared by this guy who wanted to give me a flying bear hug. Then paid a visit to Red Lobster before coming across this fox and the cat again. You know, maybe the cat guy ain't so bad. He seems pretty nice. Oh. After that, I ran into a bear trap, but at least I got a compliment. Cheers, love. And then it was time for the Black Rabbit Brotherhood. And honestly, I was expecting this fight to be much worse, but it weren't too bad. On first attempt, I died because I just forgot to block, apparently. But I got him on my second try, so no, it wasn't as bad as I thought. I came across this guy who I completely ignored back at the cathedral, so I thought I might as well speak to him this time. Not that he's any use though. I thought I'd pay a visit to Aladoro, seeing as I'd lied to him, sent him to the wrong place. And then I lied to him again, because he's still a bellend. And then it was off to the King of Puppets. I thought I was quick enough to scamper down this ladder. Clearly, I was not. After that, the White Lady gave me a compliment, cheers love, before killing me. Not cheers love. And I don't know why she's an absolute parry god neither. Shortly after, I took in the sights and listened to some lovely music. Then I came across this big fella. Bloody 8 clowns. Anyway, after that, I admired the absolutely beautiful architecture of this opera house. Then I picked up the incredible Vanini collection, and then it was off to fight the King of Puppets. Now, the King of Puppets is one of my favourite bosses in the entire game. I've really enjoyed him on all my playthroughs, but he were notably more difficult here, and I think this is the main turning point where all the bosses after this are also notably more difficult. I died a total of 8 times to him, beat him on my 9th try, and I'd love to show you the footage of me beating him, but unfortunately I can't. Yep, I got some bad news. He was actually battering me so hard that I had to go away and get some more upgrades for my weapon just to have a chance. But when I came back, I forgot to record it, so you'll have to just take my word for it. But sorry about that, but don't worry, you'll see plenty more suffering later, believe me, because I know that's what you're all here for. Anyway, after killing the King of Puppets, I carried on and got eaten by a couple of dogs after I opened this door. Neat. And then I proceeded to fight another one of the most annoying enemies in this game, this Jester. I say fought, more like I got him jumped. I then kept going, heading up to the Grand Exhibition. Got hit by another cold wombo combo. Got sparked out by this guy twice. No, sorry, thrice. Then I threw everything in my pockets at this guy with doors, because sod fighting him on this little beam. After that, I spoke to the King of Riddles and actually knew the right answer this time. Killed Mini Victor, and now it was time for Big Victor. Now, Champion Victor were difficult. The most difficult out of any of my runs, because he hits very hard, and I don't. And he has an unreasonable amount of health. I died a total of 11 times to him before killing him on my 12th attempt. After killing Victor, I spoke to the fox and cat again and decided to give him a gold coin for it, because I'm a nice guy, and I also don't want to fight him later, whatsoever. And then I headed off to probably my least favourite area of the game, the swamp. But hey, at least I told my friend to clap. No, 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 I don't want to hug, no, please! After getting a rather violent hug, it was on to the swamp monster. Now this was very hard, the hardest boss yet. I've never actually struggled with the swamp monster that much before now, but I certainly did this time. I died a whopping 16 times and killed him on my 17th attempt. After killing the swamp monster, I continued on back to the station, making sure to kill the scorpion thing to get the murderer puppet's amulet. I then proceeded to come across the robber weasel, who I just ran right past. Also, on that side note, am I the only one that struggles an unreasonable amount on the robber weasel? Not even just in this run, just in any run. I don't know why here in particular. And also, this shot is so cool. I see why they used it in the trailer. Bloody hate this guy. I'm gonna crash out. After not almost going insane, the hotel got attacked and it's time for the corrupted parade master. Honestly, he weren't easy, but he weren't too bad. Except for his grab. That thing is outrageous. I died a total of 11 times, then beat him on my 12th attempt. After killing him, I rescued everyone in the hotel and carried on. We're almost there. And then I was faced with a Black Rabbit Brotherhood Part 2, and this fight was unpleasant. Now, every other fight in the game, even ones where I died more, were a lot more fun than this one, and I always enjoyed. But this fight was different. This fight actually made me come very close to quitting the entire run. And I think if it had been earlier in the game, I actually might have done. In every other fight, when you die, you know what you've done wrong and you know what you need to change for the next run. There may be the odd boss with a funny move, but generally that's the case. Well, this boss is different. Sure, sometimes you might mess something up and you know what you've done wrong, but a lot of the time you don't know what you've done wrong, and some of the time you don't even do anything wrong in the first place. Like, you might get hit with a puppet string, pulled into the middle of all three of them, and just die. I wouldn't say you even did anything wrong in that case. That, along with the fact that it's a repeat boss, so I've already fought him before, meant that this was the only boss in the entire game I actually really disliked and didn't enjoy. Anyway, enough complaining. I died a total of 12 times and beat him on my 13th attempt. After After killing the Black Rabbit Brotherhood, for real this time, I got on the submarine and headed to the Isle of Alchemists. Home stretch now. After beaching the submarine, I was presented with a lot of little pieces of lore, which I, of course, ran past. And then it was time for the Door Guardian, what I considered to probably be the second worst boss in the game. Having this boss right after the Black Rabbit Brotherhood is just cruel. Back-to-back fumbles, that's poor effort at that point. Anyway, I died 9 times to him and got him on my 10th attempt. After killing him, I continued on. The finish is so close now. Okay. I then gave Black Cat a gold coin fruit to not fight him, and then it was time for Laxasia. Now there were 2 bosses I was worried about since the start of the game that I thought would be extremely difficult, and Laxasia were one of them. And it turns out, I was right. I recorded just over 2 hours of raw footage of just fighting her because I died a frankly staggering 51 times, beating her on my 52nd attempt. After probably the closest call I've ever had in this game, I decided to spare Sophia, and I gave the gold coin fruit to the Red Fox, because I like her and I also don't want to fight her. After that, I told Geppetto he was untrustworthy because he's also a bellend, and then it was time for Simon Manus. Simon Manus weren't actually too bad. The only thing that was a bit annoying is how long the fights tended to drag on for. Because he has an insane amount of health, and in second phase, he has a tendency to repeatedly use the range attacks that you have to run from. So there can be quite long periods of time where you can't even attack him. I certainly can't with how little health I have. In fact, because of this, my winning attempt lasted an unbelievable 10 minutes, which is outrageous for one fight. Anyway, other than that though, it weren't too bad. I died a total of 16 times and beat him on my 17th attempt. And that was it. So I just went down the elevator and decided to give Geppetto my heart. Nah, I'm only joking. Of course I didn't. What kind of challenge run would it be if I didn't fight Nameless Puppet here? Though I kind of wish I didn't for the sake of my own sanity. So I leveled up Vigor for the final time and went to fight. Remember when I said there were 2 bosses that I thought would be very difficult? Well, this were the other one. And again, I was right. A Nameless Puppet is very quick and does quite a lot of damage, and especially considering I have such little health, it meant that for the majority of his attacks, if I didn't block, I die in 1 hit. And for half of his attacks, even if I do block, I still die in 1 hit. So because of that, this fight demanded pretty much perfection, with the occasional slip up here and there maybe. So, what you've all been waiting for, how many times did I die? We can see from the footage, it's quite a few. I died a mind-boggling 110 times, defeating him on my 111th attempt. Jesus Christ. And that's it, for real this time. You can beat Liza P only leveling Vigor. This was a lot of fun, and certainly a very difficult challenge. I was expecting Laxasia and the Nameless Puppet to be the two most difficult fights, but I weren't expecting 161 deaths on them two alone. And despite all these deaths, and with the exception of the Black Right Brotherhood, I think me still having fun while fighting these bosses again and again and again is just a testament to how amazingly well designed these bosses are. Just take the Nameless Puppet, for example. He's my favourite boss out of the entire game, and I'd happily fight him again, even now. And if he weren't so well designed, I certainly want to spend almost 4 hours doing 111 attempts. If you are thinking of doing a similar run of your own, first of all, don't. But second of all, if you are a bit mental, then make sure you have the willpower to survive the Black Rabbit Brotherhood, mainly. That's the real killer. And definitely make sure you know going in that some of these bosses might take you quite a while. With all that being said, I really hope you've enjoyed. This style of video and editing is brand new to me, so I hope it's been entertaining. If you have enjoyed, let me know by leaving a like, and if you have any ideas for any other challenge runs, not necessarily just on Liza P, could be any like Souls game or Sekiro or anything, please let me know in the comments. Anyway, after all that, I'll catch you in the next one. Ta-ra.